Chapter 4958. I got it. Lin Xian took a deep breath. He originally wanted to ask for the divine fruit of life, but he didn't expect such a thing to happen. He turned around and wanted to leave. At this moment, the divine tree of life in the sky let out its final wail. Lin Xian's face was pale. He knew that the divine tree of life had completely shattered. The divine tree of life had completely withered, and his life force had been stripped away. The withered branches scattered in all directions as if it was raining. Moreover, two light figures descended from the withered trees and leaves that filled the sky. One of them was a seed. The other was a withered tree trunk with a mysterious talisman on it. Lin Xian used the power of the heaven-swallowing jar again. The 4 spirit veins in the sword world couldn't take it anymore. Kid, what are you doing? They felt that their endless power was disappearing. Lin Xian didn't answer. He instantly created a vortex and swallowed the 2 things. Then, he tore open the void and flew into the distance. In the sky, the 10,000 dragons diagram shook and suddenly released a terrifying extreme Tao aura that charged into the void. The owner of the dragon reflection was confused. What was going on? He looked carefully. However, he found that there was chaos there. There seemed to be nothing there. Lord 10,000 Dragons diagram, what happened? The 3-peak great sage were extremely respectful. The 10,000 Dragons diagram let out a puzzled voice. I seem to have sensed a few other auras. As he spoke, he released the extreme Tao dragon again and tore open the void to chase after them. After Lin Xian left the spirit realm, he heaved a sigh of relief. However, in the next moment, he felt his hair stand on end. There was the aura of a dragon, and it was the might of the extreme Tao. Was the 10,000 dragons diagram here? He didn't expect the 10,000 dragons diagram to discover him. Damn it! Gritting his teeth, he brought the heaven-swallowing jar into the sword world. In the next moment, all of his aura disappeared. Several dragon shadows circled in the sky, and the endless everlasting mountain range shattered. The entire mountain range was torn apart, and all the beasts inside disappeared into thin air. The people of the Pulsatilla race were facing a great enemy. The Pulsatilla race's ancestor, the Pulsatilla Immortal Elder, also spat out large mouthfuls of blood, his face pale. Greetings, Lord Extreme Tao, I am willing to submit to the 10,000 Dragons dynasty. He knelt on the ground. The dragon's shadow in the sky didn't pay any attention to it at all. After circling around and finding nothing, it disappeared. After a few streams of dragon chi returned. Only then did the myriad dragons diagram dispel its doubts. He began to envelop the entire spirit domain. When he discovered that no one was still alive, the light disappeared and he returned to Ancestor Long and the rest. Let's go. Forefather Long and the others sneered. Now that spirit realm was destroyed, they had obtained the power of the divine tree of life. The dragon prince's injuries could be healed very quickly. They left. After a long time, some demonic beasts in the mountain range stood up and gazed into the distance. They saw a shattered space in the distant void. Inside, there was a sea of blood and a murderous aura. What was that place? Some people were terrified. Xian Wang stood up and took a look. His scalp went numb. Spirit realm was destroyed. The news quickly spread. At the same time, countless experts from all directions came to investigate. These were the clans of the ancients, the great sects, and even the monarch clans. It was the aura of an extreme weapon. It seemed like the 10,000 dragons diagram had attacked spirit realm. Had the 10,000 dragons imperial court gone mad? Why would they attack spirit realm? Some of the clans and sects frowned. They had a close relationship with spirit realm and were even allies. Now that spirit realm was destroyed, they were very nervous. Would the 10,000 dragons court attack them? The people of the Kunping clan also came. They frowned. It seemed that the dragon prince's injuries could not be delayed. The 10,000 dragons court must have gone crazy, so they started this war. Let's go back and report to the Kunping Z. The dragon prince will recover soon. In an instant, the news spread everywhere. Everyone on the continent knew. Even the other continents were in an uproar. After all, the power of an extreme weapon was too terrifying. Fortunately, it was only targeted at Spirit Realm. Moreover, Spirit Realm had an Emperor-level array that blocked a portion of the power. Otherwise, not only would Spirit Realm have been destroyed, the Brilliance continent would have been pierced through. Some of the powerful clans of the ancients kept a low profile. They had no choice. They had not seen the power of an extreme weapon for many years. They had thought that after recuperating, they would be able to fight against the monarch clans. But now, they realized that they were too naive. After provoking the monarch clans, no one could block the attack of an extreme weapon. In the vast mountains, there was an ancient demon mountain. The void cracked open. A white-robed figure appeared behind him, followed by 30 figures. After these people came out, they cried to the sky. They were Yen Ryu and the 30 experts of Spirit Realm he had saved. What was going on? A few terrifying greater demons walked over. Their auras were extremely terrifying. And they were very old. They looked at these people and frowned. Yen Ryu said that Spirit Realm was destroyed. I only brought back 30 people and 100 stalks of spirit herbs. Sigh. The monsters sighed. They were the descendants of the Azure Emperor's followers and served the Azure Emperor's descendants. At this moment, they also shook their heads. Even Emperor Qing's array back then could not block it. Young master, do they know your identity? Yen Ryu shook his head. I use my extreme aura to cover my face. They don't know who I am. But let's close the sect for now. Let them settle down. This is the last hope of Spirit Realm. The monsters started to move. On the other side, in the vast void, a dragon boat was flying quickly. It was Black Earth. A beautiful figure was sitting there. It was Xueqi. She was controlling Black Earth while Lin Xian entered Sword World. The power in Sword World had decreased by a lot. The 4 spirit veins were very dissatisfied. However, Lin Xian did not have time to care about these 4 people. He looked around. Now that he had the divine spring of life, where to put it was very important. He had thought of putting it in the 4 Spirit Valley, but he quickly rejected that idea. The 4 Spirit Valley was just a place he created for experiment. It was not a very important place in Sword World. Therefore, it was too wasteful to put it in the divine spring of life. Every world had a core, and there were even some peak-grade spirit veins and dragon veins where they intersected. True Spirit World was like that. Buried Emperor Star was like that. Even this mysterious Sword World was like that. However, Sword World was mysterious and vast. Lin Xian could only walk a limited area. That was why he could not find the core. However, he still came back after circling around. He looked at the withered tree in front of him. Back then, Wine Lord had drunk wine under the tree. Moreover, Sword World was already so desolate and withered. Everything was no longer growing. It was reasonable for this tree to wither, but it did not die. It was shocking. Lin Xian took out the divine spring of life and placed it beside the withered tree. In the future, you can stay here. The divine spring of life seemed to understand. It directly merged with the ground. In the next moment, it began to spread out, forming 6 springs. At the same time, the ground shook. Even the withered tree seemed to flicker for a moment. However, it quickly disappeared. Lin Xian thought that his eyes were playing tricks on him. He took a deep breath. Chapter 49-59. The four spirit veins in the distance started to roar when they sensed the power of the divine spring. Kid, what is that? Why do I feel such a strong life force? Kid, that must be a divine spring. Hurry up and put it beside us. All four of their eyes turned red. Lin Xian smiled as he looked into the distance. The four of you are really obedient. Stay here and perform well. In the future, I will put a spring in your valley. The four spirit veins were so excited that they were about to cry. Kid, don't worry. Take care of the spirit herbs in the valley for us. He would guarantee that all of them would grow into divine herbs. They were extremely excited. Lin Xian waved his hand and took out two more items. One was a seed and the other was a withered tree. These were the two items left behind by the sacred tree of life after it died. Lin Xian thought about it and placed the seed in one of the 6 springs. He would let it grow again. As for the withered tree, there was a mysterious talisman on it. Lin Xian put it away. He was prepared to give it to the North Demon. The bloodline of the North Demon could condense and form a divine tree. Perhaps this withered tree could increase the North Demon's strength. Perhaps it could even merge with the image of the divine tree. When the time came, there might be some divine changes. At this thought, Lin Xian took a deep breath and prepared to return to the Dao sect. After returning, he prepared to return. He already had the sacred life spring in the quintessential world. He could go back and extend Xia Zhuoyou's life. After Lin Xian came out, he started cultivating with Xueqi again. After returning to the Holy Abyss City, Xueqi left. She also had her own opportunities to search for. Lin Xian did not try to keep her. He believed that they would meet again in the future. With a wave of his hand, Lin Xian returned to the Dao sect. At this moment, the atmosphere in the Dao sect was completely different from before. It could be said that the Dao sect's atmosphere had been extremely heavy. Now, there was laughter everywhere. Even the people from the Dragon Palace who had been in seclusion had come out to be arrogant. The Divine Union and the Dragon Palace had clashed again. A few battles had even broken out between the two sides, causing both sides to suffer losses. The people from the Dream Alliance were gnashing their teeth and preparing to counterattack. However, Lin Xian returned. Great! Brat, you're back. The dark red divine dragon and the others were overjoyed. Let's go and get rid of the Dragon Palace together. Lin Xian had said that he would return first. He had something important to tell the people of the Divine Union to hurry back. What's wrong, kid? They asked about the dark red divine dragon. The toad also said that the Dragon Palace had been too arrogant recently. Bai Susu frowned. Where have you been? Do you know that the 10,000 dragons diagram has been revived? Lin Xian gathered the core members of the Divine Union as he looked at them. Of course, I know. I even saw it with my own eyes. What? Fu Hongya and the others exclaimed. Senior uncle, you went to Spirit Realm. Are you hurt? I'm not hurt, but... The Spirit Realm was completely destroyed, and it wouldn't take long for the Dragon Prince to recover from his injuries. He could even go one level higher. This was also the reason why the Dragon Palace had chased them out. How hateful! The dark red divine dragon roared. Even this couldn't kill the Dragon Prince. Lin Xian said that if we want to kill him, we have to rely on our own strength. Get ready. I will return to Quintessential World soon. Who will follow me? I want to go back. The dark red divine dragon was shocked. What's going on? Bai Susu was happy. I will go too. He had long heard that quintessential world was the origin star, the place where all things began. It was as mysterious as the buried emperor star. He had never been there before. We will go too. Hong Yi and the others nodded as well. Lin Xian agreed. Then, he went to look for the North Demon. I have something for you. Lin Xian waved his hand and took out a piece of dead wood. The Northern Demon's pupils shrank when he saw it. He could feel the powerful aura of this dead wood, as well as anger and despair. Lin Xian said. This was left behind by the spirit realm's life god tree. I will give it to you and see if it can increase your strength. Or merge with the heavenly tree behind you. I won't thank you. This time, I will go back with you. No, you can sit here and go into seclusion. If anything happens, you are the only one who can contact Black Mountain. However, the Northern Demon still wanted to say something. Lin Xian smiled. Don't worry, I will bring your sister over. All right. The Northern Demon nodded and sat there. The others, such as the dark red divine dragon, Toad, Bai Susu, Lu Yuan, and the others, were ready to go. Besides these people, there were also some who had joined in recent years, such as No Flower. There were also people from Peerless City, such as Gao Jianfei, Ling Aojuan, Guan Shaoxian, and even Li Hongxiu. These people were originally from all over the world. It was Fu Hongye and Lu Yuan who used the power of the divine union to summon them. In the end, these people were all here. Fu Hongye said that besides eldest senior brother, there was also master. Otherwise, the people of Peerless City could all gather together. Lin Xian took a deep breath. Indeed, the whereabouts of his master, Peerless Sage King, were unknown. Apart from that, there was also Linghu Chuishue. However, he believed that the two of them were blessed by the heavens and would meet sooner or later. Besides these people, there were also 50 divine union experts who were ready to follow. After all, this was just a return trip and there wasn't much danger. Everyone wanted to experience it. All right. Lin Xian nodded. They would set off in 10 days. Everyone went to make preparations while he started to cultivate in seclusion. He entered the awakened sword's realm and sat at the mouth of a spring. In an instant, he felt a strong vitality revolving around his body. The speed of his recovery would probably shock everyone. Even the Emperor's son would be dumbfounded. After all, the sacred life spring had created the immortal sacred medicine and the sacred life tree. Lin Xian felt that if he fought in the future, he would be able to recover instantly no matter how serious his injuries were. Furthermore, the sacred life spring could greatly improve his immortality art. It would increase his cultivation speed. The current Lin Xian wouldn't die unless he was killed in one move. Of course, he didn't dare be careless. After all, there were still things in this world that could kill him instantly. For example, Emperor-grade array formations and extreme-grade weapons. Even the Great Sage at his peak could do that. After all, those people had to take him by surprise. Lin Xian wouldn't be able to use the extreme-grade weapon or the Great Dragon Sword Soul in time and would die. Of course, given Lin Xian's vigilance and carefulness, such a thing shouldn't happen. 10 days passed quickly, and the group of people gathered together. About 70 people were ready to set off. They immediately used the super transportation array. Now that they were on the Dao, they were a very powerful force and naturally qualified to use it. The array flickered and the light disappeared. The group of people also disappeared. Chapter 4960. In the Vast Mountains. Bai Susu and the rest looked around and asked, "Where are we?" Lin Xian said, "Xiantian Pavilion." Lin Xian came here to repay Xiantian Pavilion for saving his life. Also, he needed to meet the pavilion master of Xiantian Pavilion. He was also Xiang Tian. This person had a close relationship with Xia Zhuyo. Hence, he didn't know if Xiang Tian would return this time. Let's go. They retracted their auras and descended. After flying for about 5 days, they finally saw a mountain gate in front of them. How was this Xiantian Pavilion? Stop, who are you? The Xiantian Pavilion's array was activated. The guards stood in the array and roared. They looked like they were facing a great enemy. Lin Xian and the rest stopped and said, "It's me." Who are you? The guards obviously didn't recognize Lin Xian. Newcomers. Lin Xian sighed and looked behind him. You guys have been here for a long time. Go. At this moment, Guan Shaoxian, Gao Jianli, and the rest walked out. It's us, we're back. The guards looked carefully and then exclaimed, "It's you guys." They didn't expect these people to come back. Great, come in. They opened the array and let Lin Xian and the rest in. Then, they quickly closed it. Guan Shaoxian asked, "Why are you guys so nervous?" It's good that you guys are back. The situation in Xiantian Pavilion hasn't been good recently. Come, I'll bring you in. The guards brought Lin Xian and the rest into Xiantian Pavilion. The atmosphere in Xiantian Pavilion was very strange. The guards had already informed Jian Wuk and the other elders. They also hurried out and looked at Guan Shaoxian, Fu Hongye, and Lin Xian in shock. You guys are finally back. Especially when they saw Lin Xian, they heaved a sigh of relief. Great, little guy. Lin Xian smiled and said, "Greetings, seniors. I wonder what happened." The Golden Body Elder sighed and didn't know what to say. In this area, Milky Way Sect, Hail Palace, and Zhan Wang Feng all joined forces to suppress Xiantian Pavilion. We had to seal the mountain gate. We suffered heavy losses during this period. Some of the minds and spirit veins were taken away by the other party. Even the disciples and elders who went out were injured, and many of them were killed. Guan Shaoxian and the others sucked in a breath of cold air when they heard this. Their faces turned ugly. Why did they join forces? Lin Xian's face was even more gloomy. Xiantian Pavilion had done him a favor, and he knew how to repay it. He asked, what was going on with Senior? They are people from Six Sect and Mishti. The two of them are secretly supporting each other and integrating the other 3 forces to suppress our Profound Heaven Pavilion. If not for Lord Xiang Tian having some strength, the Profound Heaven Pavilion would probably have already been destroyed. Since you are here, this place is already a place. Lin Xian said, Senior Wushuang, I am indebted to all of you. Moreover, whether it is the Misty Peak or the Six Dao School, it is all because of me. In order to capture me, they suppressed the Profound Heaven Pavilion. I can't just ignore this matter. Don't worry, I will make them pay a painful price. The Golden Body Elder and the rest shook their heads and sighed. So many of us can't do anything. Can Lin Xian do anything? Although you are a genius, you are still too young. Lin Xian said, don't worry, I brought a lot of people with me this time. He was facing the remote antiquity families and even the monarch families directly. Therefore, he didn't care about these forces. Elder Zhang, this is bad. At this moment, a warrior flew in with a letter of challenge in his hand. His face was pale. After he arrived, he told the elders that the situation was not good. The Ice and Snow Palace had sent over a letter of challenge. Jian Wushuang took it and glanced at it. Then, he threw it on the ground. They are going too far. The Golden Body Elder's face darkened after reading it. Lin Xian took it and glanced at it. He frowned. The letter of challenge said that the 3 spirit veins, 1 dragon vein, and 1 ore vein that originally belonged to Xiantian Pavilion were now occupied by the Northern Ice Palace. They said that they wanted to come back for a fair duel. They even invited all the families and sects in the area to watch the duel. Obviously, they didn't just want more resources. They also wanted to slap Xiantian Pavilion in the face. They wanted to topple Xiantian Pavilion from their position as the overlord of the area. If they lost this duel, Xiantian Pavilion's momentum would drop to a freezing point. They might not be able to make a comeback. At that time, the 3 overlords would swallow Xiantian Pavilion. Fight them. Some of the Xiantian Pavilion's geniuses walked over and gritted their teeth. Jian Wushuang, the Golden Body Elder, and the rest also had ugly expressions. We must gather all our forces. We can't lose this duel. Lin Xian said, looks like there are still 5 days before the duel. Let's do it. You. Jian Wushuang was stunned. The people from Xiantian Pavilion also looked over. They were all puzzled. Bai Susu said, it's a small matter. Leave it to us. That's right. Nailin Liang and the rest nodded. These people actually dared to attack our boss's benefactor. They are courting death. We will make them pay a painful price. The Golden Body Elder and Jian Wuk were stunned. Where did this group of youngsters get their confidence from? Could it be that they were all top experts? Especially the geniuses from Xiantian Pavilion, they were even more puzzled. They were all top geniuses, but they couldn't handle it at all. Lin Xian said, Seniors, don't you believe in my strength? The Golden Body Elder asked, Kid, tell me, what realm are you at now? Can you fight against a Peak Sage King? In their opinion, no matter how talented Lin Xian and the rest were, they should be at this level. However, Lin Xian laughed. The Toad said, Peak Sage King. Old man, let's make a bold guess. We don't even care about the Great Sage. If he comes, we'll kill him with a slap. Nailin Liang also said, no problem. Not to mention one Great Sage, even if a few Great Sage came, we'll make sure they don't return. They were right. With such a strong lineup, they really weren't afraid. The people from Xiantian Pavilion were stunned. Wuk and the other elders also frowned. No matter how they looked at it, it didn't seem real. Lin Xian said, leave it to us. Seniors are tired. Originally, he wanted to meet Xiang Tian first. But now, it seemed that he had to solve the crisis of Xiantian Pavilion first. 5 days passed quickly. Purple Water Lake. This was a very famous lake in this area. At this moment, there were many people around Purple Water Lake. Because this was the time for the battle between the 4 giants. Everyone in the area already knew that Xiantian Pavilion was finished. After this battle, there would probably be no more Xiantian Pavilion. There would only be 3 overlords in the future. And the other families could also divide it. It was even possible that a new overlord would be born from these families. Chapter 4961. The most famous ones were the 3 forces, Long River Sect, Ice Palace, and War King Peak. The 3 forces had joined forces with Misty Peak and 6 Dao Gate behind them. They were not afraid of anything. As long as they could devour the Xiantian Pavilion this time, the strength of all 3 parties would be greatly improved. Thinking of this, they couldn't help but feel excited. The 3 forces were already in position, waiting for the Profound Heaven Pavilion's people to arrive. Why aren't they here yet? Are they afraid? The people of Long River Sect frowned. The people of Ice Palace sneered. It's useless to be afraid. If they don't come, then we'll kill them. We'll destroy Xiantian Pavilion then. The 3 forces were high and mighty, like supreme overlords. On the other side of the lake were the other families and sections. When they heard this, they sucked in a cold breath. It seemed that Xiantian Pavilion was really unlucky. At noon, the spiritual state and war chariots finally flew over. They're here. Everyone looked up at the sky. The three overlords sneered. Are they here to die? The people of Xiantian Pavilion were here. They stood on the war chariots in the sky and looked down at the people below, frowning. The golden body elder said coldly. Damn it, are they trying to embarrass us? They actually invited all the families and sects in this area. We can't lose this battle. Jian Wuk clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. But did they really have a chance to win? Xiantian Pavilion might be powerful, but the other three forces weren't any weaker than them. Lin Xian looked down and said loudly. Don't worry, they'll regret it this time. Toad and the others also said that. Is that so? It's not enough. Even if they double, we can still win easily. The people of Xiantian Pavilion were already numb to the words of Toad and the others. In their opinion, it might be Lin Xian and the others who were enlightening them. But no matter what, they were still grateful. Lin Xian came to help at the crucial moment. You're finally here. The people of Long River stood up, their eyes shining with a terrifying light. They landed. Jian Wuk and the others landed and walked over with large strides. We are here to accept the challenge. Brother Xian Tian, today is your last day of existence. From today onwards, there will be no more Brother Xian Tian in this world. In the distance, Boss Zhang of Changhe laughed. Tell me, what do you want? Jian Wuk walked out and gritted his teeth. A woman from the Ice and Snow Palace sneered. Were they in such a hurry to die? All right, it's very simple. Your Profound Heaven Pavilion and our three great sects will take turns to compete, and the winner will be 2 out of 3. As long as you can win, 2 of our 3 great sects will win this battle. We won't do anything to you again. Damn it, they had gone too far. The other party had a compassionate look on his face, but the conditions were too harsh. How could the Xiantian Pavilion withstand the combined might of the 3 great sects? Going too far. An expert from the Battle King Peak also walked over. The Sword Elder was no longer the same as before. We've already been very courteous to you. If we push you too far, we'll lead our army and kill our way to your Profound Heaven Pavilion. At that time, your Profound Heaven Pavilion will disappear. We have been very merciful in that case. These people were really arrogant. Bai Su Su and the others frowned. Guan Shaoxian, Fu Hongye, and the others were also gnashing their teeth. Lin Xian's face darkened. He walked out and said, since we're going to fight, then let's play it big. Who are you? Many people stared at Lin Xian with their brows tightly knitted together. Lin Xian ignored them and said, how about this, our Profound Heaven Pavilion and the 3 great sects will fight 10 times each. If we lose one battle, our Profound Heaven Pavilion will admit defeat. When these words came out, the surrounding people were stunned. The people from the 3 great sects were shocked. Was this kid tired of living? Was he too slow? Jian Wuk and the others were also in an uproar. They all looked at Lin Xian. Lin Xian said, don't worry, seniors, we won't lose. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a terrifying light. That was a look of confidence. All right. Jian Wuk and the others nodded. They had no choice. Whether it was Lin Xian's idea or the other party's rules, their chances of winning were slim. Since that was the case, they might as well fight it out. Long River Sect's great elder sneered, Jian Wuk, has your Profound Heaven Pavilion fallen to such a state? You actually let a young man be so arrogant. Do you think this is possible? Don't play any tricks. Hurry up and fight. The people of the ice and snow hall also frowned. Jian Wuk said, Young Master Lin's words are our profound heaven pavilion's intentions. Alright, since you want to die, we'll fulfill your wish. The experts from War King Peak snorted. The three great sects discussed and felt that Lin Xian was in despair because he knew he was going to die. They would not give him a chance. They quickly selected 10 people from their side. Lin Xian said, 10 battles, regardless of life or death. No objections, right? Naturally, no objections. The Long River sect's great elder snorted. They would definitely kill him. Both sides fought on Ziling Lake. The other clans also walked over and discussed spiritedly. They all felt that the Profound Heaven Pavilion was doomed. The people from the Profound Heaven Pavilion also had expressions of despair. Was Lin Xian really here to help them? Why did it feel like he was trying to harm them? Lin Xian looked at Jian Wuk. Jian Wuk said, The people I brought with me will fight in the next round. Just watch. After saying that, he turned around and looked at the people from the Divine Union he brought. I owe the Profound Heaven Pavilion a favor. Now that the three great sects want to destroy the Profound Heaven Pavilion, you don't have to hold back when you fight. Boss, don't worry. We can kill such trash in one move. The people from the Divine Union laughed. They did not have people like Lin Xian and the Dragon Prince in the Dao sect. However, those who could enter the Dao sect were not weak. Furthermore, they could enter the Divine Gate Alliance. It could be said that these people were much stronger than the young geniuses of the three great sections. They were from a completely different world. Bai Susu and the other core members did not even bother to fight. Come on, I can't wait to send you to hell. The people from Long River stepped forward first. The 10 young geniuses fought on the opposite side of the lake. One of them flashed and directly arrived at the lake. The surrounding spiritual lake bloomed and an endless radiance turned into 9 huge dragons that roared between heaven and earth. Not good. The expressions of the people watching from afar changed. Long River was originally a water element. Now that they were fighting on Ziling Lake, they had a huge advantage. Chapter 4962. The people from the Ice Palace sneered. They believed that even the mysterious Sky Pavilion couldn't gather 30 geniuses. Previously, they had ambushed and assassinated the mysterious Sky Pavilion. Many of their geniuses had been seriously injured and weren't a match for them. As for the arrogant young man from before, they didn't care about him at all. How strong could a young man be? Could he overturn the heavens? Up ahead, the man from Long River stood by the purple spirit lake and sneered. A disciple from the Divine Union walked over to Lin Xian's side. This person had short hair and carried a battle blade on his back. His expression was cold, and he looked ordinary. However, there was no fear on his face. In a flash, he arrived by the purple spirit lake. Opposite him, the Long River genius sneered. My name is Xinyu. Tell me your name. The short-haired man shook his head. I don't need to know your name. You don't have the right to know mine. Come on, it's a matter of one move. Xinyu's face darkened. This guy was too arrogant. The surrounding people were also in an uproar. Even the people from the mysterious Sky Pavilion were stunned. Lin Xian wasn't the only one who didn't care. Why did the people he had brought with him have the same expression? Could it be that these people really had some kind of trump card? The people from Long River all laughed. A few geniuses crossed their arms and snorted coldly. How dare this guy look down on Xinyu? He must be courting death. He had already angered Xinyu. Once Xinyu's Lotus Lake Divine Sword was unleashed, that guy wouldn't be able to withstand 3 moves. Jin Yu's face darkened. He pulled out a purple sword and said coldly, "No one has ever dared to be so arrogant in front of me. In that case, I'll let you experience my ultimate technique, the continuous call divine sword." As the sword slashed out, the countless lakes in the world surged and turned into a terrifying sword shadow. The expressions of the people watching from afar changed. It was said that this sword had killed 3 geniuses of the same level. It was extremely terrifying. The people from the mysterious sky pavilion closed their eyes. They couldn't watch anymore. The short-haired man looked at the sword shadows that covered the sky expressionlessly. When the sword shadows neared him, he pulled out the battle blade on his back. He slashed out with his blade. Boom! Boom! A resplendent radiance turned into the only thing in the world. At this moment, everyone was blinded by the radiance. They could only hear a loud rumbling sound. After a long time, they opened their eyes. The short-haired youth turned around, sheathed his saber and left. Was the battle over? They looked carefully. The sneer on Jin Yu's face turned into terror. His body was split in half, and his blood dyed the purple spirit lake red. He was dead. Countless people cried out in surprise. He had been killed in one strike. The people of Long River abruptly stood up. The geniuses were dumbstruck, and the elders' faces were gloomy. What's going on? They looked at each other. Did you see that saber strike clearly? Which sect's absolute art was it? An elder shook his head. He didn't know and didn't pay attention. That blade was too fast, like lightning. Damn, that short-haired youth was actually an expert. This was definitely not the martial arts of the Profound Heaven Pavilion. The people from the Ice Palace and the Battle King Peak were also frowning. They didn't expect that the Profound Sky Pavilion would ask for help. The people from the Shantian Pavilion were also stunned. Looking at the short-haired man walking back, those young geniuses were shocked. The elders also sucked in a breath of cold air. 1/kill, the other party really did it. They didn't expect that Lin Xian would actually bring back an expert. This was a peerless bladesman. However, Jian Wuk still frowned. Even so, the other party had joined forces and had too many geniuses. Winning 1 round wasn't a big deal. Toad smiled. Old man, don't worry. This is just the most ordinary person in the Divine Union. If the others went, they wouldn't be worse than him. Jian Wuk and the others from the Shantian Pavilion were shocked. They looked at the short-haired youth. This was the most ordinary person. What a joke. This short-haired youth would definitely be furious. However, the short-haired youth just smiled. Boss Toad is right. I am indeed very ordinary. The Golden Body Elder, Jian Wuk, and the others couldn't stand properly. They were about to fall. This was called ordinary. Heavens, who exactly were these people? The people from the other 3 sects were also discussing. Soon, they came to a conclusion. Perhaps the other party just wanted to send a peerless bladesman to intimidate them in the first round. However, the other party definitely didn't have any geniuses left. In the next 9 rounds, Long River would definitely not lose. Don't be careless anymore. Do you hear me? Great Elder Long River said. Don't be careless anymore. The other 9 geniuses also had solemn expressions. Don't worry, Great Elder. We will let them know what despair is. The second genius walked forward. He held a treasure bottle in his hand. It was also a water-type nomological item. Who dares to fight with me? After arriving, the youth from Long River shouted coldly. He had a head of golden hair and emitted a mysterious aura. Let me do it. Another figure walked out from the Divine Union. This person had a head of blue hair and was very handsome. He held a folding fan in his hand and looked very confident. His appearance attracted the attention of many female cultivators. He was so handsome. However, the male cultivators sneered. So what if he was handsome? He would go to hell sooner or later. I'm the third elder of Changhe, Leng Fei, a disciple under his command. My name is Leng Fei. Die. The green precious bottle blossomed with terrifying radiance, releasing exceptional radiance. Clear river sky seal. Countless people exclaimed in admiration. They did not expect Leng Fei's talent to be so high that he was able to learn such an ultimate skill. Long River's elder laughed heartily. A gray-haired old man looked very pleased. This was his disciple. Just wait and see. His disciple was going to shine in this round. Damn it. The people from Mysterious Sky Pavilion tensed up again. It was obvious that Long River was going to kill him. They were all absolute arts, leaving no room for negotiation. Wang. A terrifying blue radiance shattered the void in front of him and completely enveloped the blue-haired man. The sky fell and the earth cracked. Leng Fei laughed heartily. Just as he was about to turn around, a figure appeared behind him. Too weak. Your movements are too slow. You are full of loopholes. How is this possible? Leng Fei's hair stood on end. When had the other party appeared behind him? He was about to turn around when his head was chopped off. Then, his body was torn into pieces and turned into a bloody mist. Snow and rain danced in the air. Wherever the blue-haired man passed, everything retreated, forming a spatial zone. He returned without a speck of dust on him. After returning, he said, "Boss, I didn't challenge you. You are too weak. I want to make a move on his elder." Lin Xian smiled. There would be a chance. The blue-haired man returned to his team. The people from Mysterious Sky Pavilion opened their eyes wide. Elder Jian Wuk and the others were dumbfounded. Was it another instant kill? What was going on? The people from Long River went crazy. Chapter 4963. Why? Are you not convinced? Lin Xian said coldly. The great elder of Long River stood up and shouted angrily. He was not from Xiantian Pavilion. You guys are despicable. The dark red divine dragon was furious. We are despicable. The three great sects joined forces to deal with us. Isn't that despicable? Do you really think you can cover the sky with one hand? If you are not convinced, come and fight me. I can kill you with one slap. You! The great elder was so angry that he vomited blood. Jian Wuk walked over and said. The rules were agreed upon by both sides. Are you going back on your words now? He could see that the group of people that Lin Xian had brought back were not ordinary. They were probably all heaven-defying geniuses. Hence, they saw hope. Damn it! The great elder shouted. Then, he said, the competition will continue. I don't believe that all of them are so powerful. The competition continued. Soon, they were in despair. After the second battle, the third, fourth and even the 10th battle were all one-hit kills. Every single person from the Divine Union could kill the people from Long River easily. The 10 battles ended. Long River was completely defeated. The purple spiritual lake had turned into a sea of blood. The elders of Long River looked ferocious. Their hearts were bleeding. They had prepared the 10 great geniuses carefully. They had wanted to make a name for themselves, but now, they were all dead. Damn it, I want you dead. The third elder rushed over in an instant. He stretched out his hand. It was like the palm of a demon god, covering the sky. How dare you! The golden body elder shouted angrily and punched out. His fist and the opponent's palm collided. Thunder rumbled in the sky. The golden body elder and the third elder both took a step back. Their blood was boiling. The dark red divine dragon walked over and shouted coldly. I have given you face. You really dare to come over? He waved his dragon claw like a god descending to the mortal world. The third elder was enveloped by his attack. The third elder shouted angrily. How dare a mere snake fight with me? He wanted to fight back. However, when the attack came, he was frightened. His body was torn apart and his soul was shattered. He was dead. An elder was killed by a palm strike. Many people were stunned. When the golden body elder looked at the dark red divine dragon, he sucked in a breath of cold air. Even with his full strength, he could only fight to a draw with his opponent. But now, his opponent's gentle wave of his claw was enough to destroy the world. These people were too terrifying. It was even more terrifying than they had imagined. The great elder was also roaring crazily. Damn it, those elders were gnashing their teeth. However, he didn't dare to act rashly because his opponent's origins were too mysterious. Back in the ice and snow palace, those from the Battle King Peak had a drastic change in expression. They knew that this battle could no longer continue. They called back the 10 geniuses one after another. The Xiantian Pavilion was too strange. If they fought again in the future, these people wanted to leave. Lin Xian snorted coldly. With a stomp of his foot, the surrounding area collapsed. Countless arrays flickered, enveloping the entire space. You want to leave now? It was too late. Sai continued. When these people joined forces to heavily injure Xiantian Pavilion and suppress Xiantian Pavilion, did they not think of stopping? Now that you can't win, you want to leave. There was no such thing in the world. A debt of blood must be repaid with blood. Do you dare to stop us? The expert from the Battle King Peak roared and punched the sky. This punch was like a god of war. The array didn't shake at all and didn't have any effect at all. How could this be? The expert from the Battle King Peak was dumbfounded. What kind of array was this? The people from the Ice and Snow Palace and Long River also attacked, but they were all blocked. Damn it! If you don't let us go, we'll destroy you. The 3 sects discussed and joined forces to kill the people from the Xiantian Pavilion. Countless people retreated in fear. They had originally come to watch the battle, but the situation was completely out of their expectations. At this moment, they were all hiding far away. Why? You don't want to follow the rules. Since you're courting death, don't blame us. Lin Xian snorted coldly. With a wave of his hand, the people from the Divine Union walked out. They were emitting a terrifying aura. The battle erupted in an instant. The people from the Xiantian Pavilion shouted angrily. They were unafraid of death and thought that this would be an intense battle. Who would have thought that they wouldn't even need to do anything? The people from the Divine Union were like wolves in a flock of sheep, sweeping through all directions. On the side of the 3 sects, people fell one after another. Soon, there weren't many young disciples left. So powerful! The people from the Xiantian Pavilion exclaimed. The faces of the people from the 3 sects also changed. What kind of power was this? They stared fixedly at these people. When they saw Lin Xian, their faces were filled with doubt. They carefully recalled what had happened and gasped. It's you. Isn't it that brat? They recognized Lin Xian. Back then, Lin Xian had exchanged blows with the geniuses of the 3 sections. However, a long time had passed and he hadn't appeared. Therefore, they couldn't recognize him now. However, after carefully recalling, they understood. Where had the other party found these experts? All of you, stop. At this moment, an angry shout was heard. 3 figures walked over from afar. When they joined forces, the sky and earth froze. Countless people felt their scalps go numb. The Great Sage. They hadn't expected the Great Sage to come. Old Ancestor, please avenge us. Old Ancestor, kill him and tear him to pieces. Search their souls and collect their cultivation techniques and abilities. When the people from the 3 sects saw the 3 Great Sage, they cried. Their losses were too heavy. The young disciples had all fallen. Only the elders were left. Xiantian Pavilion, you guys are too much. You actually have such cruel methods. The Great Sage of Changhe strode over. Under his feet, 10,000 rivers surged. Jian Wu's face was solemn. He hadn't expected the Great Sage to come. However, he wasn't afraid. Justice was in everyone's heart. Who was the despicable one? You don't have to pretend here. Let's fight it out. You. The Great Sage of Changhe sneered. You are extraordinary and can exchange a few blows with the Great Sage. However, the Great Sage's true strength is not something you can imagine. Moreover, the 3 Great Sage are here. Do you think that the Xiantian Pavilion doesn't have the Great Sage? The Golden Body Elder roared. The Great Sage of Changhe laughed. The 3 of us joined forces because we have Misty Peak and 6 Dao Gate behind us. Do you think they won't attack you? Your Great Sage has already been blocked by them. Not good. The expressions of Jian Wu and the others changed. If what the other party said was true, then they were in too much danger. The battles before were all Saint Kings. But now, the Great Sage appeared. This was completely different. No matter how strong a Saint King was, he couldn't beat the Great Sage. Even with Lin Xian's help, he still couldn't do it. The people watching from afar shook their heads and sighed. There was nothing they could do. The Xiantian Pavilion still couldn't beat the 3 leaders. This was for sure. The 3 of them had made sufficient preparations. It wasn't easy for the Xiantian Pavilion to last until now. Everyone below the Great Sage was an ant. Those people would definitely die. Bai Susu sneered. Was the Great Sage very strong? Chapter 49-64. Those from the Xiantian Pavilion were shocked. Could it be that these people wanted to fight against the Great Sage? This was too heaven-defying. Those from the Divine Union laughed. Bai Susu was like their senior sister. Her father was an elder of the True Path sect. Her strength was unfathomable. She was much stronger than them. Lin Xian looked at her and asked, "Can you do it?" Bai Susu said, "You're underestimating me. You're not the only one who's improving. My strength has also improved over the years. Today, I'll show you my new ultimate technique." She walked over, facing the Great Sage of the Long River without fear. Those from the Changhe Pavilion went crazy. The Great Sage's face also darkened. Was this little girl courting death? I'll fulfill your wish. He stretched out a finger and gently pointed forward. Boom! 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 Those from the Xiantian Pavilion were shocked. They spat out mouthfuls of blood and were sent flying. Even those from the Divine Union looked solemn. Dozens of figures worked together to form an array to block the attack. However, Bai Susu sneered. You're really short-sighted. Haven't you heard that there's a top-notch genius who can kill the Great Sage? Lanruo palm. She extended her jade-like hand and waved it in the air. A mysterious palm print appeared. Her palm seemed to have turned into the hand of the fairy of the 9 heavens, passing through everything. The two of them collided. The Long River Supreme Sage's fingers shattered instantly, and his entire arm disappeared without a trace. He screamed and retreated. Countless people were shocked. The great sage couldn't even block a single move from a young man. Who exactly was this young man? The great sage's eyes narrowed. He knew that he had been careless. His opponent was an iron plate. Retreat. He retreated. 4 incarnations appeared beside by Susu, cutting off the sky. Each incarnation used Lonrua palm. The great sage couldn't block it at all. His body was torn apart. Not good. The elders from the Changha Pavilion went crazy. They looked at the other 2 great sage. They asked the 2 old ancestors to help. The great sage of ice and snow and the great sage of battle also had cold expressions on their faces. Do it. Although the 2 of them would normally feel disdain for the 2 of them to attack a member of the younger generation, they were unable to do so now. In times of crisis, they had to be decisive. An unimaginable power erupted from the ice mountain and enveloped by Susu. On the other side, a battle sword tore through the 9 heavens, capable of killing gods and devils. With the 2 great sage attacking, Bai Susu was in grave danger. Nalan Liang and the others were shocked. Bai Susu was strong, but she was not strong enough to fight against 2 great sage. At this critical moment, Lin Xian made his move. He took a step forward and arrived beside Bai Susu. He looked at the 2 great sage and struck out with his palms. Mark of the Lion. A double-headed golden lion rushed over and swept across the sky. Everyone looked up at the starry sky at this moment. They felt despair. What kind of power was this? The 2 great sage wanted to escape, but it was too late. After being enveloped by the golden lion, their souls were destroyed. Are they dead? Blood rained down from the sky. The elders from the Ice Palace and Changha Pavilion knelt on the ground, trembling in fear. The people on the Shantian Pavilion side were also stunned. Those were 2 great sages, and they were killed by Lin Xian with a single palm. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have believed it even if they were beaten to death. The great sage of Changha Pavilion's broken body healed. He wanted to counterattack, but when he saw this scene, he was scared out of his wits. He said, "Little friend, please stop." Changha Pavilion admits defeat. The people from the 3 sects knelt on the ground, begging for mercy. Too strong. Although they could not feel the terrifying aura of the other party, they had already experienced his methods. Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back and laughed coldly. Now you know how to beg for mercy. Too late. No, the people from the 3 sects raised their heads, their faces full of despair. The great sage of Changha Pavilion gritted his teeth and roared, "Don't be too arrogant." He waved his hand and took out a flying flame meteor hammer. "Do you believe that I can send you to hell with my life on the line? You?" Lin Xian laughed coldly. His body swayed and he used the 6-path fists. His fist swung out, creating 6 worlds and sending the flying flame meteor hammer flying. The great sage of Changha Pavilion, who had just condensed half of his body, was shattered again. He was trampled to the ground by Lin Xian. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a golden radiance, enveloping the other party's soul. The great sage's soul burned, emitting black smoke. He screamed crazily, "No, immortal, please spare me." He was no different from an ant in the other party's hands. In the midst of his screams and despair, his soul burned and turned into ashes. Lin Xian collected the other party's soul. Then, he waved his hand and settled it. The people from the 3 great sects still wanted to escape, but they were all dealt with by the people from the Divine Union. A sea of blood surrounded the 9 heavens. The remaining people all knelt down. Greetings, young master. In the future, we will respect young master and the Shantian pavilion. Very good. Lin Xian nodded. He did not care about these families and sections. There was nothing to be afraid of. He wanted to continue attacking. He wanted to uproot the 3 great sections. Jian Wuk and the others' minds were blank. They had never expected Lin Xian to be so powerful. The Golden Body Elder frowned. Although they had destroyed them, the other party's foundation was still there. Moreover, they had the 6 Paths sect and Misty Peak behind them. They could not be careless. No matter. Lin Xian said, "Let's go. I will bring you to destroy their sect and let the 3 great sects become history." Jian Wuk and the others sucked in a cold breath. However, he quickly said, "Before that, save our people first." Their great sage was stopped by the people from the 6 Paths sect and Misty Peak. Lin Xian said, "This is simple. Ruffian Long, Susu, bring people to Long River and lay down a formation. I will go with Elder Wuk to save the other great sage." Jian Wuk was stunned. "Just the 2 of us?" Lin Xian smiled. "That's enough." The 2 of them rose into the air and flew into the distance. The space around Lin Xian shone brightly as the 2 of them sped through space. They disappeared. In the vast mountains, 5 people stood facing each other. The 3 of them had cold expressions. They were the great sage of the Shantian pavilion. As for the other 2, one had an ethereal aura. He was the great sage of the Misty Peak. The other person had a terrifying aura that seemed like it could rip apart heaven and earth. He was the great sage of the 6 Paths sect. He had a hexagonal mirror in his hand, and he was the one who had single-handedly stopped 2 great sages with the help of the mirror. Damn it. 6 Paths sect, Misty Peak, don't you think that you are too much? This is not your territory. Hurry up and leave. One of the black-robed great sage of the Shantian pavilion roared. The great sage of the 6 Paths sect scoffed coldly. What Shantian pavilion? You are just a Suso. You dare to protect that kid and spoil my 6 Paths sect's plans. This time, I will destroy your Shantian pavilion. The black-robed great sage roared. Damn it. If not for Lord Xiang Tian not being able to come out due to some reasons, you wouldn't have the chance to be so arrogant. Legend has it that he is very strong. However, it is just a false reputation. If he dares to come out, I will suppress him with one hand. The great sage of the 6 Paths sect was filled with disdain. Chapter 49-65. Kill. The 2 of them charged over and an earth-shattering battle broke out. After 100 moves, the 2 great sage from Shantian Pavilion retreated. They were injured. Damn it. His mirror had the power of reincarnation. Damn it. They could fight against him, but that mirror was mysterious. They couldn't fight against the power of reincarnation. The great sage from Rebirth Realm stood out and laughed coldly. Everything was over. He exploded with energy as if he was about to use some kind of ultimate technique. The great sage from Shantian Pavilion was in despair. They were doomed. They were probably attacked when they went to meet Wuk and the others. Did the heavens want to destroy Shantian Pavilion? In the sky, the hexagonal mirror shone with a mysterious light. It was about to attack. However, a cold laugh rang out. You used the power of reincarnation to such an extent. What a joke. Is your 6 Tao gate worthy of the power of reincarnation? Who is it? The great sage's expression changed. Who dares to challenge my 6 Tao gate? Come out. It's me. The voice was still far away, but two figures appeared instantly. They tore open the void and stood in the sky. Wok. The great sage from Shantian Pavilion was stunned. Is Jian Wok back? If Wok is back, does that mean the others are safe? If that's the case, they can retreat. However, other than Jian Wok, they didn't see anyone else. They only saw a young man. Who is this young man? They were all stunned. The great sage from Misty Peak and Six Dao Gate were stunned too. Especially the great sage from Six Dao Gate. He looked around warily. Stop hiding and come out. Just the two of them. The two of them don't dare to challenge me. Jian Wok's expression was weird. He wouldn't have believed it before, but after witnessing the battle, he believed it. He believed in Lin Xian's strength. Hence, he smiled coldly. Lin Xian walked out. No need to look. I was the one who said that your use of reincarnation is too trashy. It's you. The great sage from Six Dao Gate was stunned. Who are you to be so arrogant? Is your senior hiding at the side? Get him to come out. Otherwise, I'll slap you to death. Lin Xian didn't say anything and punched out. He was courting death. The great sage of the Six Dao Gate was furious, but when she felt the punch, her expression changed drastically. Damn it. How could you? He realized that his opponent was actually using the Six Dao fists, which was extremely terrifying. In an instant, his body was pierced through and blood splattered everywhere. The great sage of the ethereal peak was stunned, and so was the great sage of the Shantian Pavilion. Who was this young man? Could he be an extremely terrifying ancestor? Who are you? The great sage of the Six Paths Gate roared madly. Lin Xian coldly snorted and attacked again. The Six Dao fists continued to attack, sweeping through heaven and earth. Damn it, that great sage also used the Six Dao fists. The two of them fought it out. Soon, the great sage of the Six Paths Gate vomited blood and flew out, his fist shattered. He was terrified. His opponent's fist technique was more complete and stronger than his. It was as if his opponent was the real expert of the Six Paths Gate. And he was an imposter. How could this be? He had been cultivating for thousands of years and had never heard of anyone other than the Six Paths Gate who knew the Six Dao fists. Damn it. This is too strange. I have to go back and report this. I have to ask the people of the Six Paths Gate to investigate this. But how could Lin Xian let the other party leave? Fearless Lion Seal was used consecutively, and the beast of the Six Paths Gate was shattered into pieces before disappearing into thin air. Not good. The great sage of the ethereal peak was so scared that his scalp went numb. He quickly fled. Lin Xian threw out the great spear of destruction. Like a demonic god, he attacked forcefully and pierced through the other party's body. Heavenly secret god eyes appeared and burned the other party's soul fire. In the blink of an eye, two great sage had fallen. The three great sage of the Shantian Pavilion were stunned. What kind of method was this? Thank you for your help. May I know who you are? To them, the other party should be an old ancestor. Jian Wok said. Among the supreme elders, he was Lin Xian. Lin Xian. The old ancestors were stunned. Then, their pupils constricted. It's you. How could they forget this name? They just didn't expect him to become so terrifying. Lin Xian said, it's because of me that the Shantian Pavilion fell into such a dangerous situation. So, I'm here to destroy the three sections. I want the Shantian sect to become the only overlord of this area. Let's go to Changhe. With that, Lin Xian turned around and flew into the air. The three great sage were shocked when they heard this. Then, they sucked in a breath of cold air. Although Lin Xian was powerful, Long River and the other two sects also had a terrifying foundation. They weren't something that one or two people could shake. They flew forward, wanting to dissuade Lin Xian. However, Jian Wuk said, "Old ancestors, let's just wait and see. Young Master Lin has shocked us far more than this." The three great sage sighed. It seemed like they could only follow him. If Lin Xian was defeated and was in danger, they would still persuade him to return. Changhe, one of the overlords of this area. Outside the sept, there were 81 heavenly rivers circling around. At this moment, Baisusu, the dark red dragon, and the others had already arrived near the heavenly rivers. Looking at the surging rivers, they all sucked in a deep breath. After all, they couldn't let their guard down if they wanted to attack a sect. The dark red dragon started to set up a formation. He looked at the 81 heavenly rivers and laughed. Spirit gathering formation. Changhe was really courting death. Those rivers gathered the spirit veins of the earth. It could be said that Changhe had become a holy land for cultivation. However, it was also because of this that the dark red dragon sneered. As long as he made some changes, he could forcefully take away these powers. At that time, he would give them to Lin Xian. With Lin Xian's trump cards, they might not even need to do anything to attack Changhe. Indeed, that was what Lin Xian thought as well. By the time he arrived, the array formation of the dark red divine dragon was already half set up. Lin Xian made a move. The two of them worked together and were even faster. Finally, it was done. Old ancestors, you're here. When the Golden Body Elder and the others from Xiantian Pavilion saw that the three great sage had returned safely, they heaved a sigh of relief. Then, they said, "Young Master Lin wants to attack Changhe. Should we mobilize more experts?" The three great sage nodded. Indeed, if they wanted to attack Changhe, Xiantian Pavilion would have to go all out. Therefore, they were prepared to mobilize the forces in the sect. However, Lin Xian said, "No need. I can do it alone." Alone? The three great sages were stupefied. One person attacking an entire sect. So what if there were all these formations in the surroundings? As great sage, they could naturally tell. Once this formation was activated, it would take away the power of heaven and earth from Changhe. But what could this power do? This power was only for cultivation. It couldn't be used in battle. Lin Xian smiled and didn't say anything. Chapter 4966. At the same time, the people of Long River also reacted. There were guards guarding the 81 rivers. They saw many people flashing in the distance. Their expressions changed drastically and they hurriedly reported. The people of Long River were shocked. Someone dared to behave atrociously outside their territory. Was he trying to destroy their sect? He was courting death. Who was it? Send him to hell. The 5 elders led the strong cultivators of Long River over. They stood at the 81st Great River and shouted coldly. Who dared to behave atrociously in our territory? Not good, we were discovered. Jian Wuk and the others were shocked. The three great sage frowned. It was you. The people on the other side frowned when they saw Jian Wuk and the others. Why were you still alive? Wasn't today the day of the final battle? With their combined strength, these people should have died. Could it be that something unexpected happened? Just as they were puzzled, a figure walked out. Lin Xian rose into the air. The great dragon sword soul surged in his body. A dragon shadow appeared in front of him. An extremely terrifying killing intent swept through the surroundings. Who are you? Sensing this terrifying aura, the expressions of the people of Long River changed. From today onwards, Long River would become history. Lin Xian held the dragon-shaped sword shadow and activated the array beneath his feet. The power of the 81 rivers surged and condensed in his hand. You think you can do that? The elders of Long River sneered. In the next moment, they felt that their protective array was changing. They were even more shocked. How dare you destroy our array? Kill him. With a furious shout, the experts below attacked crazily. The other party was just a young man. With so many of them attacking together, he would definitely die. In the Xiantian sect, the expressions of the great sage changed. They wanted to save him, but in the next moment, they stopped and even became terrified. They realized that there was an extremely terrifying power erupting from where Lin Xian was. Then, a sword light transformed into a true dragon and roared. Slash! With a slash of the sword, the 81 surging rivers instantly evaporated and disappeared. However, this slash of the sword had become an eternity between heaven and earth. Boom! With a slash of the sword, Elder Changha's divine power laws were all destroyed. The elders were alarmed and wanted to retreat. But it was too late. With a single slash of the sword, they turned into a bloody mist. It wasn't just them. The entire mountain gate was split in half. Moreover, the sword extended into the distance. The river began to shake violently. The warriors in the river prostrated themselves on the ground. The elders roared. Even the living fossils in seclusion opened their eyes. The sect master of Long River soared into the sky. Sensing all of this, he was stunned. What kind of power was this? It was not something he could withstand. Was it a sacred weapon? Or was it an extreme weapon? He didn't know that half of his body had disappeared under this sword. This was the result of him dodging with all his might. The others were not so lucky. A large number of martial artists and elders were turned into ashes. The palaces and towers that filled the sky vanished into thin air. With a single slash, the entire river was split into two. Outside, the people of the Xiantian pavilion went crazy. The three great sages' eyes almost popped out. Was this really an attack from a young man? They looked at the sword shadow in the sky with their mouths agape. Was this an extreme weapon? Back then, the might of the myriad dragons' portrait swept out in all directions. At that moment, they also felt the fear of their world being destroyed. Now, Lin Xian had split an overlord sect in half. They thought that it was an extreme weapon. Stop, don't fight, we'll submit. Two living fossils walked out. The two of them were about the same age as zombies. At this moment, the two of them immediately begged for mercy. The sect master of Long River also flew over and said, "Who are you? We've never offended you, right?" As he spoke, his eyes were filled with tears. Long River had been passed down for a long time and could be considered an overlord sect. However, at this moment, it was going to be destroyed in his hands. Even if he went to hell, how was he going to explain it to his ancestors? When Long River became enemies with the Xiantian pavilion, did you think that you would end up like this? Did you secretly collude with the Ethereal Peak's Six Paths Gate? Also, who am I? I'm the person that Ethereal Peak and the Six Paths Gate want to kill. I'm Lin Wudi. It's you. Long River's pupils constricted. He naturally wouldn't forget why the Six Paths Gate secretly helped him. It was to let them search for a young man called Lin Xian. But this person in front of him was too terrifying. If they couldn't resolve it, then they would kill him. The two living fossils roared. The laws on their bodies burned, and their withered bodies instantly swelled. Their palms tore apart heaven and earth. Brat, so what if you have an extreme weapon? With your strength, you won't have any strength left after one move. The two of them charged over. Lin Xian sneered. No strength? You think too highly of yourself. Slash. Another slash. Lin Xian used the power of Sword World and struck out with a peerless sword. How could he still strike out with two living fossils? This was completely out of their expectations. The two living fossils were destroyed by a single slash. I, Long River, am willing to submit. The sect master of Long River knelt on the ground and bowed his head. You're the sect master of a sect. I'll give you a quick death. Lin Xian's cold voice sounded. The sect master was in despair. He burned his life force and disappeared. As for the rest of the people in Long River, most of them were killed by that slash. Those who were still alive had no strength to resist. As for these people, Lin Xian didn't kill them. Instead, he left them to the Shantian pavilion. These people couldn't cause any trouble. Lin Xian landed on the ground. Ruffian dragon. He yelled. He wanted to gather the power of Long River again because there was still the Ice Palace and Battle King Peak. He couldn't use the power of Sword World without limit. Brat, there's no need for this sect to exist. Just swallow it. The dark red dragon looked around and suggested. Lin Xian nodded. Long River was destroyed, but the spirit veins controlled by Long River could be used by the Shantian Pavilion in the future. As for the sect itself, there was no need for it to exist. I understand. Lin Xian took out the heaven-swallowing jar and swallowed the entire Long River. A pitch-black whirlpool appeared in front of them. The people of the Shantian Pavilion were shocked. An overlord sect like them disappeared just like that. There was only an abyss left in front of them. Let's go to the Ice Palace. After swallowing Long River, Lin Xian had the power to continue to the Ice Palace. The people of the Ice Palace didn't know the situation. When they saw Lin Xian and the others arrive, their reaction was the same as that of the Long River sect. However, when Lin Xian struck out with a heaven-shaking slash and split the Ice Palace apart, those people went completely crazy. In the end, the Ice Palace was destroyed and Lin Xian swallowed it. Chapter 49-67. Two of the three overlords had been destroyed. The Battle King Peak had received the news long ago. They didn't think of running away. With such means, even if they ran to the ends of the earth, they would still die. Hence, the Battle King Peak sect leader led the entire Battle King Peak to submit. Lin Xian said calmly, "Great sage, I'll give you a chance to kill yourselves. The rest of you will become battle servants and serve Shantian Pavilion forever. Agree and I'll spare your lives. Otherwise, I'll destroy your sect." The Battle King Peak sect leader closed his eyes. Okay, we agree. His body burned into ashes, and the other great saints also ended their own lives. As for the rest, they were all marked with the seal of life and death. They became battle servants. The three overlords would no longer exist. In this area, Shantian Pavilion was the only overlord. The commotion here had already spread out. Countless people were shocked and terrified. There were no more four overlords, only Shantian Pavilion. When they returned to Shantian Pavilion, Jian Wuk and the rest were still in a daze. When the people of Shantian Pavilion heard the news, they couldn't believe it. In just a few days, the other three sects had disappeared. What a joke! One must know that they were suppressed by the three sects and almost collapsed. But when they sent people to investigate, they realized that the three sects really didn't exist anymore. Was this really done by young Master Lin? They regained their senses and looked at Lin Xian. They were grateful. Thank you for saving us. Even the Grand Elders bowed. Thank you for saving Shantian Pavilion. Lin Xian said, Seniors, you don't have to be so polite. After all, this happened because of me. I can't just sit and watch. But now, no one in this area dared to challenge Shantian Pavilion's position as the overlord anymore. The Grand Elder walked out and bowed. Then, he said, Young Master Lin, how do you plan to distribute the resources left by the three overlords? Although they knew that Lin Xian couldn't stay here for too long and it might be theirs. However, they still had to ask for Lin Xian's opinion in advance. Although Lin Xian was a young man, his status was extraordinary. Even their pavilion master would not dare to be careless in front of him. They had to treat the other party as a godlike figure. What do you think? Lin Xian asked. The great sage began to communicate with each other. At this moment, Lin Xian once again said, How about this? The resources of the three great sects will be split in half. One half will be given to you, and the Shantian Pavilion will allow you to develop. The other part will be left behind. I plan to build a temporary palace. Sure. These elders didn't dare to have any objections, but they were puzzled. What palace? Lin Xian said that before I came to the buried Emperor Star, I used to belong to Peerless City. Later on, Peerless City had a great battle and was forced to close its doors. Now, I want to bring it back to the world. Fu Hongye, Lu Yuan, Guan Shaoxian, and the others' eyes reddened. That's great. Their Peerless City can finally reappear. I wonder if Master will be happy when he finds out. We naturally don't have any objections. The people of the Shantian Pavilion laughed. Jian Wuk said, Let us help you build the temporary palace. This would be a huge project. All right. Lin Xian nodded. Then, he said, Shaoxian, you stay here and take charge of the following matters. Yes, Martial Uncle. Guan Shaoxian also walked out happily. Next, Lin Xian told everyone to rest. He said, I want to see the pavilion master. Young Master Lin, this way please. The Grand Elder led Lin Xian into the depths of the Shantian Pavilion. After arriving at the forbidden area, the Grand Elder reported. After about half an incense stick's worth of time, a low voice sounded. The Grand Elder said, That's enough. Lin Xian followed him. There was a cave in front of them. It was abnormally simple and unadorned. Inside was the legendary pavilion master Skyward. However, Lin Xian had never seen him before. After the Grand Elder left, only Lin Xian remained. The surroundings were terrifyingly quiet. Lin Xian cupped his fists. Greetings, Senior Skyward. You're here again. The low voice sounded. Could it be that there's news of prolonging life? Lin Xian said, That's right. I've found a way to return to the quintessential world. Senior, would you like to go with me? Really? Xiang Tian was stunned. Then, he looked up and laughed. The 9 heavens were shaking. The heavens had eyes. Outside, the people of the Shantian Pavilion were shocked. It was the pavilion master's laughter. They all thought that the pavilion master laughed because the 3 major sects were destroyed. Of course, only Lin Xian and Xiang Tian knew the truth. In the cave, Xiang Tian stopped laughing and said, Little guy, well done. However, I can't go to the quintessential world with you. I have to guard here. Say hello to Master for me. Xia Jiuyo was actually his master. Lin Xian was surprised. At the same time, he was even more shocked that Xia Jiuyo was guarding here. What was he guarding? Could it be the Shantian Pavilion? Senior, are you worried about the 3 major sects? Senior, you can rest assured. The three major sects have long ceased to exist. After hearing this, Xiang Tian smiled and said, "Did you make a move? That's good. If I wasn't suppressed here and couldn't go out, the three major sects wouldn't have dared to be so arrogant in front of me." Xiang Tian snorted coldly, his voice full of disdain. Lin Xian felt even better. It seemed that Xiang Tian didn't put the three major sects in his eyes at all. Could it be that he couldn't come out? Was there another reason? Thinking of this, a trace of golden light swept across his eyes as he looked ahead. In the next moment, he seemed to have forgotten to look through the ground. There, he saw a hazy figure sitting cross-legged. Below the figure, there was a crack that looked like a canyon. There seemed to be black chi flying out of the crack. However, it was suppressed by the figure. Roar! In a trance, Lin Xian seemed to hear a roar that made his blood boil. He suddenly retracted his gaze. In front, Xiang Tian also said, "Little guy, this is not a place you can explore. Hurry up and leave." Lin Xian left. He was even more confused. That figure was definitely Xiang Tian. However, what was in the canyon that he was suppressing? Why was it so terrifying? All of this was a mystery. After returning, Lin Xian took a deep breath and stopped thinking about it. Instead, he focused on cultivating. This time, he used the Great Dragon Sword Soul, and the situation was much better than before. After all, he was using external forces. He only needed to withstand a little pressure. Every time he used it, Lin Xian's body would become stronger and stronger. Now that he had been baptized by the divine spring of life, his body would become even stronger. With the baptism of life, his physique became even stronger. An ordinary great sage in the early stage couldn't break through his defense at all. However, he knew that it was not enough. After all, he had to compete with the Imperial Prince. He had seen the incarnation of the Dragon Prince before. Just the incarnation was already so terrifying. The real body would only be more terrifying. Chapter 49-68. After resting for another 3 days, everyone was ready to set off. Shengguan Shaoxian stayed behind to build her palace, Wushuang City. As for the others, they followed Lin Xian to set off. Their target this time was Ethereal Peak. He wanted to return to Ethereal Peak and Thousand Mountain Paradise. Thinking of the paradise, Fu Hongye and the others gritted their teeth. When they arrived, they were suppressed and became battle slaves in the Sixth Paradise. If not for Lin Xian, they might not have been able to make a comeback. When they returned this time, they would definitely take revenge. Ethereal Peak, clouds surrounded it, making it look extremely mysterious. During this period of time, Ethereal Peak had been developing well. Some of the genius disciples in the sect had increased their strength greatly. More importantly, no one dared to challenge their position. At the same time, there were many genius disciples in the Sixth Paradise as well. After being taken in, Ethereal Peak became even stronger. Everything showed that Ethereal Peak was getting stronger. As for the young man who had challenged them back then, he was probably dead outside. How was the situation at Xiantian Pavilion? Within Ethereal Peak, an elder of the star race asked in a deep voice. There hasn't been any news back after such a long time. Could something have happened? His subordinate shook his head. There hasn't been any news back yet. But soon, he smiled and said, "Elder, don't worry. Once the three sects take action, Xiantian Pavilion won't be able to do anything. Furthermore, Ethereal Peak and Six Dao sect are behind this. Xiantian Pavilion will definitely die." Another woman snorted coldly. He deserved it. Who asked him to help that kid with the surname Lin? It's a pity that I don't know where that kid is. If I see him, I'll personally tear him into pieces. The buried Emperor star is so big and there are countless dangers. He came from another world. How could he have lived for so long? He probably died in some mountain range. The elder of the star race nodded his head and sighed. It's a pity that Shui is a good seedling. She could have entered Ethereal Peak. Is there no news about her? His three subordinates shook their heads. Old Zhang, these are the offerings from the 6 paradise. Among them, 1000 Mountain Paradise has the most. Another young genius walked over and handed a scroll to the old man in front of him. The old man took a look at it and nodded slightly. The 1000 Mountains Grotto should be under the control of forefather Xing Tian's branch now. That's right. Black Ice ancestors' people were related to that brat surnamed Lin. Not killing him was already a blessing. However, they were currently being suppressed so much that they had to use the resources of their bloodline to pay tribute. That was why Patriarch Heaven Conqueror was willing to part with them. The elder of the Star Tribe nodded his head. After that, he did not pay any more attention to him. It was just 6 grotto heavens. He would not interfere in the fights between them. All he had to do was ensure that no one dared to challenge Ethereal Peak's position. The 1000 Mountain Grotto Heaven was surrounded by endless mountains. At this moment, the 1000 Mountain Cave did not seem to have changed much, but everyone knew that the Heavenly Mountain Cave had changed. Black Ice Ancestor and her people had offended Misty Peak, which was equivalent to falling into the 18th level of hell and never being able to rise again. The people of this bloodline were suppressed every day. There were even many people who were mercilessly killed outside. Even the Dark Nether ancestor had been poisoned. The poison of the Holy Heavens ancestor definitely had something to do with Misty Peak. Father, how are you today? I asked someone to find another batch of healing pills. Xian Hai walked over and asked anxiously. Don't waste your energy. There is no cure for this poison. An old man shook his head. If others were to see this, they would definitely be shocked. This old man was extremely skinny, like a skeleton. His hair was snow white and his eyes were empty. There was a black mark on his body. It was this poison that had almost taken his life. The middle-aged man beside him was ashen. He said, Father, don't be discouraged. There must be a way. But old man Xian Hai shook his head. It's useless. They are punishing me. I am warning everyone of the consequences of offending Misty Peak. If they wanted to kill me, they would have done so long ago. The skinny old man laughed bitterly. Xian Hai gritted his teeth. Damn it. It's all because of that brat. Thinking about that young man, he gritted his teeth. If not for him, how would we end up like this? Black Ice Ancestor sighed. Forget it. Let's not talk about it anymore. The only fortunate thing was that Qi had left long ago. This way, she would not be harmed by Ming Feng. She only hoped that she would never come back. Outside 1000 Mountain Grotto, a group of people flew over from afar. They stopped in the void. They were back again. Lin Xian stood on the spirit boat and looked ahead. He was filled with emotions. Back then, they had gone through a lot of hardships and lost many experts to break through the shackles of the true spirit world and come to the buried Emperor Star. They had thought that they were like carps leaping over the Dragon's Gate. From then on, the sky was high and the road was long. But who would have thought that as soon as they came to the buried Emperor Star, they would be hunted down by the Grotto Heavens. Many of them were even hunted down and became prisoners. As a result, their fellow disciples of Peerless City could only be displaced. Even now, Peerless Holy King and Linghu Chueshue's whereabouts were unknown. Thinking of this, Lin Xian's eyes were filled with killing intent. Fu Hongye, Lu Yuan, and the others were also gritting their teeth. They had all been suppressed before. But now, they were different. Previously, they were like ants. Facing the 6 great grotto heavens, they felt that they were invincible. But now, they had returned and stood at the peak. With a stomp of their feet, the entire 6 great grotto heavens would tremble. Let's go and meet our old friends. Lin Xian's figure descended and the group followed closely behind. At the same time, in the territory of the grotto heavens, Xian Hai roared angrily. Damn it, did old ancestor Xing Tian send people again? Yan Mo, don't go too far. In front of them, there was a middle-aged man with monstrous demonic qi. He sneered. What can you do to me if I go too far? It's already a great blessing that you're alive. Let me see how Senior Black Ice's injuries are. Then, he waved his hand. The experts behind him walked over one after another. Xian Hai roared and stopped him. The other party was not here to take care of them. He was here to use poison. Every month, the other party would come over and use poison. Then, Black Ice Ancestor would fall to the ground and die. But then, the other party laughed and left. Now, the same day of the month had come again. How could Xian Hai let them enter? Yan Mo shouted coldly. Do you really think you're still the same person? You could fight against me back then, but you can't now. Attack! The number of people he brought with him was 10 times more than the other party. In an instant, Xian Hai and the others were severely injured. They spat out mouthfuls of blood, but they still guarded the entrance of the hole. If you want to enter, you'll have to step over my dead body. I didn't expect you to be so courageous. Yan Mo snorted. But do you think I won't dare to kill you? Chapter 49-69. At the gate of Thousand Mountain Cave, the array flickered, indicating that it was under attack. Who dared to behave atrociously in Thousand Mountain Cave? Countless guards walked out, their killing intent soaring to the sky. It had been a long time since anyone dared to behave atrociously here. Was there someone who dared to behave atrociously here again? Seeing that there were so many people, the guard's expression changed. He asked, which sect are you from? Do you have a visiting card? Why? Does Thousand Mountain Cave not recognize me anymore? Lin Xian sneered and walked over. The guards were confused, but one of them narrowed his eyes. It's you. You didn't die. You're back. It was as if he had seen the most terrifying thing. This young man had caused a huge storm back then, but he had only entered Ethereal Peak. Now, he was back. One could imagine what kind of storm was about to happen. Who was he? The other guards were confused. Is this young man scary? The guard wanted to say something, but in the next moment, his scalp went numb. The others' eyes popped out. They saw the young man in front of them waving his hand, and their protective array was torn apart like a piece of paper. The entire process was smooth. There was no pause at all. What kind of power was that? Only their old ancestor could do that. Thinking of this, the guards sat down on the ground, their faces full of shock. Lin Xian ignored them. A golden light appeared in his eyes, then he squinted. His body flashed, and he flew in a direction. In the hall in front, there were many people around. Blood dyed the sky red, and the cries made one's scalp go numb. Yan Mo sneered and looked at Xian Hai, who was kneeling on one knee, and said coldly, "Do you still dare to go against me now? Despicable." Xian Hai's teeth were clenched so hard that they shattered. He was unwilling to accept this. All right, what are your last words? You can go to hell now. Yan Mo pulled out a killing sword and walked over. After so many years, I didn't expect you to be in such a sorry state. At the critical moment, a calm voice rang out. Xian Hai raised his head in shock. Is someone here to save us? Yen Mo's face darkened. Who is it? Come out. With a cold shout, he swept his gaze in all directions. The guards around him also sent out their souls to search for him. There's no need to search because I didn't plan to hide. The voice sounded again as a figure walked over. Who are you? The surrounding sages roared. Yen Mo was stunned. Xian Hai's pupils shrank. It was him. How could he forget this person? It was precisely because of this person that her daughter had disappeared and her entire bloodline had become prisoners. Despicable brat, you still dare to come back. He let out an animalistic roar. Who's back? Was it Chi, or? An old voice came from the main hall. It was intermittent and filled with excitement. He could die at any moment. Lin Xian's brows furrowed even tighter when he heard this. His aura was too weak. Xian Hai said that his father was Lin Xian. He had returned. What? Lin Xian. You're Lin Xian. The surrounding guards also roared crazily. Naturally, they knew that their Thousand Mountains grotto status was weaker than the other 5 grotto heavens. There were many reasons. It was because of a Lin Xian from their grotto heaven who dared to challenge the Misty Peak. Was it because of this kid in front of him? Kid, you still dare to come back? I'll capture you and send you to the Misty Peak. Then our Thousand Mountains grotto will have done a great deed. By then our status will be restored. Yen Mo laughed. He was very happy. You? Lin Xian snorted coldly. At this moment, dozens of streams of light streaked across the distance and instantly arrived behind Lin Xian, forming a huge team. Xian Hai was stunned. He didn't expect Lin Xian to bring so many people back. Yen Mo laughed. Ha 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 ha, kid, do you think you can fight against me with just the people you brought? He could tell that the people around him were all young people. How strong could a group of young people be? Back then, Lin Xian could escape because of the help of the Shantian Pavilion. But what about the Shantian Pavilion now? He knew very well that the Shantian Pavilion probably didn't exist anymore. Without the Shantian Pavilion as a trump card, could Lin Xian fight against them? Young man, I don't know where you get your courage from. You probably didn't go to the Shantian Pavilion, right? You've lost your trump card. Kneel down obediently and I'll suppress you. Alright, let's see if you're qualified. Lin Xian walked over without taking any defensive measures. I'll give you 3 chances. Can you suppress me? I'll give you my head. Stupid ant, do you think you can be arrogant after training outside for a period of time? Do you know that my strength has also increased during this period of time? The face devil shouted angrily and sent a slap over. His killing intent was shocking. This attack was enough to destroy any young genius. Clang! A deafening sound rang out. The people around him were bleeding from their ears. A figure suddenly retreated. Damn it, what a strong physique. Yen Mo covered his palm with an ugly expression. Lin Xian stood there with his hands behind his back. You've improved over the years, right? You're pitifully weak. Ant! Toad sneered. The people from the Divine Union were also mocking him. How could someone like him fight against their boss? Stop joking. Damn it, you're underestimating me. Yen Mo shouted angrily and threw out 2 consecutive punches that were like peerless suns. Boom! Boom! The sky fell and the earth cracked. He should be dead this time. The martial artists from the Shantian Pavilion snorted. Xian Hai also frowned. This kid was courting death as usual. He had actually angered Yen Mo. Lin Xian's figure appeared from the crack in the void. There was not a speck of dust on his body, and he was not injured at all. The 3 punches were over. I gave you a chance, but you didn't have the strength to suppress me. Now, take one of my moves. After 1 palm, all grievances were resolved. Bang! Lin Xian slapped over. He didn't even use the fearless lion seal or the 6-path fists. He only relied on the strength of his divine body. No! Yen Mo was horrified. His 3 punches couldn't hurt the other party. What kind of physique was this? Could it be that this kid had encountered something in the outside world? Damn it, he had been too careless. Especially when he felt the power of that palm strike, he was even more alarmed. He was invincible. This made him feel like he was facing an old ancestor. He suddenly retreated. A mysterious talisman flashed under his feet and brought him away instantly. He dodged the palm strike by a hair's breadth. Only a few of them swept across his body. Ha 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 ha. Yen Mo was furious. Kid, I thought you were great. You can't hit me. As soon as he finished speaking, he roared in horror. No. It can't be like this. His body shattered like a piece of porcelain and then spread throughout his body. With a crack, he turned into a bloody mist. How could this be? His soul was also torn apart by a terrifying force. Chapter 49-70. Dead. Xian Hai's face was pale, and his body was trembling. Just a palm strike was enough to kill the Yen Mo. What kind of power was that? That was the power of the great sage. Could it be that this kid had already become the great sage? The Yen Mo was dead, and the surrounding guards were in an uproar. Kid, you're dead. The sagely old master will not let you off. Let's go and report this to the old master. Lin Xian waved his hand, and the golden light turned into a divine sword, piercing through the hundreds of guards. All of them fell on the ground. Xian Hai was even more terrified. He had killed a group of experts with just a raise of his hand. That was too scary. That was no longer the person he knew. You're really pitiful. Lin Xian took a step and came before Xian Hai. He looked down at him and said indifferently. Xian Hai knelt on one knee, holding his wound and looking up. When he saw Lin Xian's eyes, he felt like an ant talking to a dragon. Seemingly unable to withstand the pressure from Lin Xian's body, Xian Hai spat out blood and retreated. His body landed in the main hall. Lin Xian stepped into the main hall, and he frowned. He realized that there was a skeleton-like figure in front of him. Your old master Xian Hai. He could not believe that the great sage could be in such a miserable state. Black Ice old master raised his head. When he saw Lin Xian, he was shocked. He wanted to stand up, but his bones were shaking, and he could not. Lin Xian looked at him and saw a black handprint on his body. Obviously, he was poisoned. You should kill the Yen Devil, Black Ice ancestor said. You are in big trouble. Now, Thousand Mountain Grotto belongs to ancestor Xingtian. They have Ethereal Peak behind them, and I heard that they have taken action against Xingtian Pavilion. You have no more trump cards, so leave quickly. At the same time, if you know where Qi is, tell her to never come back. Lin Xian listened expressionlessly, but the people behind him had weird expressions. Xingtian Pavilion no longer exists. Looks like the news hasn't arrived yet. As for the Thousand Mountain Grotto, they were even less afraid. This time, he was here for revenge. Lin Xian said that he was here for revenge, so he would not let any of the people who tried to kill him go. As for the two of you, Xueqi's father and grandfather, I will show you mercy and not harm you. However, it is impossible for me to help you. Patriarch Xianhai laughed bitterly. He did not believe the other party's words. However, Xianhai's pupils shrank. He ran over and said, "Young master, save my father. I know you have a way." Previously, he had been dismissive of Lin Xian. However, when he saw Lin Xian instantly kill the face devil with his palm wind, he was shocked. He knew that the young man in front of him was a completely different person from back then. The other party's methods might be able to save his father. Lin Xian remained unmoved. Xianhai knelt down and said, "Please help us for Qi-er's sake." Lin Xian frowned slightly and sighed. After all, this was Xueqi's flesh and blood. However, he still had his principles. He said, "If you want me to help, I can do it. However, I have to collect your souls first. I have to see whether you are related to the human world. If they were related to the human world, he would not harm them for Xueqi's sake, nor would he save them. He would let the two of them fend for themselves. However, if they were not related, he could help them. Everything is for your sake." Lin Xian thought to himself. Then, a golden radiance burst out of his eyes and enveloped the two people's souls. Xianhai wanted to resist, but Patriarch Xianming said, "Don't resist." Xianhai knelt there and allowed Patriarch Xianming to read his soul. Lin Xian's expression was grave. After a while, he withdrew his gaze. The two of them were nervous. Lin Xian said, "You are lucky. You don't have a close relationship with the human world." Black Ice Ancestor smiled bitterly. The human world's power originated from the Misty Peak and was then distributed to the 6 grotto heavens. Back then, it was obtained by Patriarch Xingtian's lineage. It was an extremely powerful assassination force. They had been jealous of it for a long time. They did not expect that they would be saved because of this reason. The affairs of the world were really unpredictable. Lin Xian waved his hand, and a terrifying sword will slashed at the black handprint. The great dragon sword soul was destroyed, and all aura the black poison on the handprint disappeared quickly. Black Ice Ancestor felt that his power was recovering. Did he succeed? Was he cured? She was really shocked. Xianhai cried tears of joy. He had thought of many methods, but he could not make his father's situation better. Now, Lin Xian's sword energy had cured his father's poison. This method was too shocking. Black Ice Ancestor stood up. Although she was weak, she was fine. She said, "Thank you for your help, young Master Lin. In the future, I will not refuse you. At the same time, we apologize for what happened in the past. We hope that you will let us go for Qi-er's sake." Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back and said, "It's not bad to be a wild crane and recover your body." Patriarch Xianhai's body trembled. Originally, he wanted to regroup and fight with Patriarch Xingtian. But now, it seemed that Lin Xian did not want him to care about anything anymore. Just as he was thinking, a crazy roar sounded in a hall of the 1,000-mountain grotto heaven. Patriarch Xingtian looked at the soul jade token in his hand, his eyes red. His son's soul jade token was broken, indicating that he was killed. Who dared to attack the Yen Mo? Where did the Yen Mo go? He roared crazily. Reporting to the Patriarch, he went to Black Ice Ancestor's residence. "That old thing. How dare you attack my son? Go to hell." He was furious. Without caring about anything else, he slapped out with a huge palm that covered tens of thousands of miles. The void shattered, and countless people crawled. Xian Hai's expression changed drastically. Not good, the great sage had attacked. Black Ice Ancestor's pupils constricted. The patriarch Xingtian had attacked again. Retreat. He had just been detoxified and was no match for the other party. If he was hit, his soul might be destroyed. She and Xian Hai retreated quickly. But when they left the hall, her pupils constricted. She saw Lin Xian standing there with a look of disdain. Lin Xian threw out a punch in the face of this frightening palm. The six Dao fist shattered the heavenly domain and directly shattered the gigantic hand. A pillar of light surged into the clouds, and countless laws danced in the sky. Was it broken? Black Ice Ancestor was stunned. She could not believe it. This was the great sage's attack. Previously, he could kill the Yen Mo because the Yen Mo was only a sage ruler. He was still far from the great sage. Now, it seemed that Lin Xian could fight the great sage so easily. This person's strength had exceeded his imagination. He took a deep breath and laughed bitterly. It was better not to try anything in front of the other party. He said to Xian Hai, "From now on, we will be two rogue cultivators." Xian Hai nodded silently. His confidence had been shattered. He wanted to escape from this place and live in the mountains. Damn it! Patriarch Xingtian roared crazily. Who could block his attack? Other than Black Ice Ancestor, there was no one else. Maybe Black Ice Ancestor was injured. Chapter 49-71. The Holy Heaven's old ancestor's face turned cold. He tore open the sky and descended quickly. At the next moment, he stood in the 9 heavens and saw a figure. "It's you. How dare you come back? Where are the people from the Shantian pavilion? Get them out." The Holy Heaven's old ancestor frowned. In his opinion, the one who had attacked him wasn't the young man in front of him, but the Shantian pavilion behind him. However, the Shantian pavilion shouldn't have been destroyed at this time. Could it be that some of them had escaped? Lin Xian looked at the Holy Heaven's old ancestor and said coldly, "After so many years, you still haven't made any progress." The people around felt their scalps go numb. Was this the attitude a young man should have toward the old ancestor? The Holy Heaven's old ancestor's face darkened. "Since they won't come out, I'll suppress you personally." He waved his hand, and a terrifying long blade appeared in his hand. He slashed downward. The bright blade light was unimaginable. This blade seemed to be able to sweep through everything. Fortunately, it was only aimed at Lin Xian. If it had slashed anywhere else, the entire grotto heaven would have been split open. Lin Xian wasn't afraid. He stretched out his hand and grabbed at the blade. Was he going to resist this peerless attack with his bare hands? Many people went crazy. The Holy Heaven's old ancestor was even more disdainful. Did this young man really think of himself as a god? Clang! An earth-shattering sound rang out. The blade slashed down on the palm, and countless thunderous sounds rang out. Then, it was caught. How was this possible? The Holy Heaven's old ancestor couldn't believe it. Lin Xian let out a furious roar and shattered the blade light right away. He charged forward forcefully. "Take one of my attacks too." Behind him, the shadow of a dragon flickered and turned into a sword dragon. Countless dragon scales condensed into a sword light. Lin Xian held it in his hand. The sword split the world. One of the Holy Heaven's old ancestor's arms was cut off. "How did you become so strong?" he roared crazily. His opponent was only a sage king, but he could compete with him and even suppress him. This kid was too strange. He wanted to retreat. Lin Xian struck out with his palm. The seal of the fearless lion flew out. Damn it, he's too arrogant. The sagely Heaven's old ancestor was infuriated. He retreated not because he was afraid of the other party, but because he didn't want to suffer any losses. Since the other party wanted to die, he would fulfill his wish. With a wave of his hands, a saintly Heaven's steel appeared. It's just the mark of a demonic beast. Suppress it. The sage Heaven's steel pressed down on the golden lion. The fearless lion roared in disdain. It danced and tore the sage Heaven's steel apart before pouncing towards the sage Heaven old ancestor. Oh no, what kind of lion is this? It was too scary. The sacred Heaven's old ancestor was scared out of his wits. He was enveloped by a golden light, and then his body was torn to pieces. His soul was slapped to the ground by the fearless lion. Was the patriarch defeated? The surrounding people from the Thousand Mountain Cave trembled when they saw this. Then, they all knelt on the ground. Damn it, let go of me. The holy Heaven's old ancestor's soul roared, but he couldn't resist the fearless lion. And this was after Lin Xian purposely spared his life. Otherwise, his body and soul would have long been obliterated. The sagely Heaven's old ancestor roared. I am not dead yet. Inform Ethereal Peak and activate our trump card. He was furious. He didn't believe that Lin Xian would dare to kill him. Soon, some people retreated. Some of them soared into the sky to inform Ethereal Peak's experts. The other group activated their so-called trump card. Ruffian Dragon killed those who had escaped. Lin Xian transmitted his voice. The dark red dragon's body flashed, and the dragon scales on his back turned into a dragon blade that slashed towards the sky. Those who had escaped were all killed. As for those who activated their trump card, Lin Xian didn't stop them at all. Black Ice Ancestor was also shocked. Fortunately, she had already submitted and didn't dare to go against Lin Xian. Otherwise, she would probably end up in the same miserable state. She took a deep breath and said, Young Master Lin, your trump card is extraordinary. It's best not to activate it. Otherwise, it will be troublesome. Lin Xian said, Is your trump card the power of the mortal world? Black Ice Ancestor nodded helplessly. Lin Xian was a killing god who could kill a great sage like cutting vegetables. That's even better. I'm here to deal with the mortal world. You. The sacred Heaven ancestor's soul sneered. You can't even block a finger. Soon, you will die. The earth trembled as a shocking killing intent emerged. Then, it was as if the god of death had descended. Even the Divine Union's people felt a chill down their spines. It seemed like an incredible assassin had awakened. 3 figures were hidden in black robes, holding 3 killing swords in their hands. They disappeared in an instant, appearing and disappearing mysteriously. Whing! Cold laughter rang out as swordlight flashed and the fearless lion was split in half. The sacred Heaven ancestor's soul was able to escape. He fled into the distance, roaring crazily. Kid, let's see how you will die. Lin Xian frowned. This was indeed an ancient assassin. He was indeed valiant. His body flashed as he took out the heaven-devouring jar and shook it gently. A boundless black vortex enveloped the dark red dragon and the Divine Union's people. He wasn't afraid, but he was afraid that these people would attack the Divine Union's people. A black vortex appeared beside Bai Susu and the others, swallowing everything. Indeed, as soon as this was done, a sword light slashed toward the dark red dragon and Bai Susu. Fortunately, the black vortex swallowed the sword light directly. What a strange devouring vortex. Let's get rid of this kid first. The 3 ancient assassins discussed for a while before charging toward Lin Xian. When these people attacked, the great sage felt his hair stand on end. The power of their attacks was extremely terrifying. At this moment, everyone was worried for Lin Xian. The space where Lin Xian was instantly shattered. Countless clanging sounds came from his body, and there were even sword scars appearing in some places. They were indeed ancient assassins. They were indeed strong enough to pose a threat to him. With a roar, his divine body completely erupted. Divine flames swept out, burning heaven and earth. The entire void shattered as three blurry figures appeared. They tore the void apart and retreated into the distance. Lin Xian threw out the 6-path fists and chased after one of them. That person swung his sword back like a dragon. The two of them collided and then retreated. Fresh blood dripped from the void. Lin Xian sneered. That was all there was to it. What a strong physique. You actually managed to hurt me. However, today is the day you die. The injured assassin said coldly. Then, he disappeared again. Heaven and earth quietened down. Even the killing intent was gone. On the other hand, the dark red dragon and the others were nervous. This was the most dangerous situation. They could even hide their killing intent. Who could discover them? Lin Xian seemed to be at his wit's end. However, a golden radiance flickered in his eyes. His divine eyes looked at heaven and earth, burning the world. Lin Xian's heavenly secret god eyes swept across the 9 heavens and 10 lands. His spirit flame floated out. In the void, a roar was heard. A figure was set ablaze, looking extremely ferocious. Damn it, it's a soul attack. Kill him. He let out a miserable cry. Chapter 4972. It was a sure-kill sword. It seemed to have traveled through time and space, arriving in front of Lin Xian and slashing down on Lin Xian's body. The two swords slashed at the same spot and actually split open Lin Xian's body. The 10,000 dragon divine blood fell. However, Lin Xian also grabbed the two swords. This time, you can't escape. Endless sword light exploded from his body. The sharpness of the sword energy was even more terrifying than the two swords. The two were instantly pierced and screamed as they retreated. They realized that their wounds couldn't heal. Damn it, who are you? When did the 1,000-mountain grotto heaven offend such a terrifying existence? They looked at the sacred heavens patriarch. The sacred heavens patriarch's face was pale. He was originally smug and thought that the other party would definitely die after summoning the world of men. However, that wasn't the case at all. The 3 assassins couldn't do anything to the other party. Leave this place. This kid is too terrifying. He's not someone we can fight against. Super physique, terrifying eye techniques, and that black jar. It was very similar to the legendary heaven swallowing jar. In addition, his sword energy was extremely sharp. It was definitely a supreme treasure. How could such a person appear in this area? The other party should be in an even more terrifying ancient city and family. Why would he come to such a remote place? As expected of the world of men. You're really knowledgeable. You even recognize my body. Since that's the case, it's not up to you. Lin Xian attacked. They split up and fled. The 3 from the world of men flew in 3 different directions. He didn't believe that the other party could kill all 3 of them at the same time. Lin Xian sneered and threw out the heaven-swallowing jar and the dragon sword soul at one of them. Then, he attacked the 3rd person. How could those 2 be a match for the heaven-swallowing jar and the dragon sword soul? They were instantly killed. As for the 3rd person, he exchanged 30 moves with Lin Xian and was torn in half by Lin Xian. Was he dead? The 3 of them were about to die. the sacred heaven's patriarch turned pale and fled. Lin Xian waved his hand and grabbed the other party's soul and pulled it in front of him. Don't you think it's too late to leave now? Young master, spare me. It was all Misty Peak's idea. I was really helpless and had no choice. Now, in order to save his life, he poured all the dirty water on Misty Peak. What a good, I can't help it. You're really shameless. Lin Xian sneered, unmoved. He wouldn't let him live, so he directly ignited his soul. In the end, old ancestor Xingtian also died. At this moment, nearly half of the warriors in the Thousand Mountain Grotto were kneeling on the ground. Had their ancestor died? Lin Xian turned around and looked down from above like a god overlooking the mortals. As these people passed by, the souls of a few of them burned and turned into ashes. These were all old ancestor Xingtian's trusted aides. As for the Holy Heaven's ancestors' people, they had all been killed by him. In an instant, the entire grotto heaven. The situation had changed drastically. Black Ice ancestor and Xian Hai immediately bowed their heads. From now on, the Thousand Mountain Grotto heaven will be ruled by the young master. The others also bowed to Lin Xian and paid their respects to the young master. Lin Xian waved his hand. From now on, there would be no Thousand Mountain Grotto, only Wushuang City. Not only the Heavenly Mountain Grotto, but the other 5 grotto heavens would also cease to exist. Even Misty Peak, I will overturn it. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a cold light. Countless people were shocked. Would the grotto heaven cease to exist? To be honest, although Thousand Mountain Grotto was inconspicuous in the entire Alcade continent, it was second only to Misty Peak in this area. Now that it no longer existed, it was really hard for these people to imagine. But the young man in front of them was like a god, and no one dared to resist. They could only accept this fact. Yuren, I'll leave this to you. Lin Xian said in a deep voice. Yuren walked out. Young master, don't worry. Lin Xian looked at Black Ice ancestor again. I will go to the other grotto heavens. During this time, I don't want anything to happen to Thousand Mountain Grotto. Young master, don't worry. This old man understands. Black Ice ancestor walked out and said loudly. Now that the sect was sealed, no news was allowed to spread out. Anyone who violated this rule would be punished according to the sect rules. As for the others, they naturally did not have any objections. After all, one of the 2 old masters was dead. Now that there was only one left, they naturally did not dare to resist. Lin Xian led the others and left quickly. Go, 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 take revenge. Previously, they had become battle servants. But now, it was just Thousand Mountain Grotto. The other grotto heavens would have to bear their wrath as well. Purple Spirit Grotto. Fu Hongye would never forget the torture he had gone through here. Therefore, he challenged them forcefully the moment he arrived. This was especially so for the young men under the Great Elder. All of them were crippled by Fu Hongye. The Great Elder roared, but was killed by Lin Xian in a single slap. Not only that, the other grotto heavens were playing out the same scene. Everyone in the grotto heavens were in despair. They realized that the battle servants from back then had returned, and they had become so terrifying. These young geniuses were no match for them. In fact, they themselves were no match for these young men. Damn it! What had these people gone through? Awesome! Fu Hongye, Lu Yuan, Gao Jianfei, and the others roared. They had finally gotten their revenge. However, this was not the end. They knew that Lin Xian was going to strike once more. He was going to destroy the 6 grotto heavens and build Matchless City. Naturally, a huge battle would break out in the process. Lin Xian could not possibly strike out at all 5 grotto heavens at the same time. Therefore, after destroying 3 grotto heavens, the remaining 3 reacted instantly. Knowing that they were no match for him, they fled immediately and reported to Ethereal Peak. After Ethereal Peak received the news, their faces changed. Someone had already destroyed 3 grotto heavens in a row. How could this be? Why did they not receive any news at all? Could it be that they were joking? Everyone from Ethereal Peak was dumbfounded. However, when they arrived at the 3 grotto heavens, they were all kneeling on the ground. They said that they were lucky that the other party did not attack them, and that they had escaped in advance. However, those 3 grotto heavens were indeed destroyed. Even the young geniuses of their families were crippled. Who was it? Ethereal Peak frowned. Was it a top sect from another region that had come to challenge them? No, it was Lin Xian. It was that lad from back then. He was back. Lin Xian. Everyone from Ethereal Peak was stunned. Then, their eyes shone with a sharp killing intent. This was a name that they naturally remembered. It was this young man who had once challenged them and caused them to lose so much face. To think that he would be back again. Impossible. The elder of the star race shook his head. How could a young man like him have such strength? Back then, he had the Shantian sect behind him. However, the Shantian sect should have long disappeared. We don't know. The people from the 3 grotto heavens shook their heads. These people had escaped, but the grotto heavens were still around. After the elites of the 3 grotto heavens had escaped, they were no match for Lin Xian and the others. Soon, they were conquered as well. Eventually, the 6 grotto heavens disappeared. You're tuning in to the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.